Okay, thank you very much. Good evening to everybody. Today is 24 March 2022, and this is the third webinar organized within the framework of the Erasmus Plus project, Non-Formal Environmental Education to enhance youth inclusion and participation. First of all, taking out mobile link. This is a long-term Erasmus project run by ARCI Chieti, Italian non-profit organization, in partnership with other 5 organizations from United Kingdom, Bulgaria, Albania, Montenegro, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. The project, as I said, is a long-term project. In fact, we are in already developed stage of the project, because till now we already organize 2 international meetings, one virtual seminar in September 2021, one study visit in UK in Blackpool, and also other 2 webinars. The first one concerning the topic of environmental education, run by the Italian Cooperativa Terracoste. The second webinar was focused on the topic of the outdoor education, and it was led by our friends from Natural Explorer Association from Bulgarian. I am not able at all to pronunciate the Bulgarian name. And today we are at the third webinar on the topic of community development and engagement. Our speakers will be Alan Hulme and Stuart North from the UK partner Urban Organic from Blackpool, exactly. The project will not stop here, but it will follow with the next steps. That will be a 4th webinar. The topic will be decided by the participants to the future, the next international meetings. That will be a training course that will be realized in June in Italy, in the village of Borrello, and final youth exchange that will take place in the village of Tornareccio in Italy as well at the end of July of 2022. We will have also local activities that each partner will realize at local level, and a final publication. So as you can see, it's a quite complex project, but I stop here my presentation about the general framework of this webinar, and I pass the floor to Alan and Stu to present the webinar of today about the topic, as I said, community development and engagement. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Okay, let me just get things set up here. Just bear with us a moment, please. So we just need to set up our sound as well. And we should be good to go. So yes, hello and welcome to this webinar entitled Community Development and Engagement, which is really all about community building. It's about how you form a community and how you keep it engaged, how you keep it online. And so what we're going to do is share some of our own examples. We're going to visit some of the places that we went to during the November study tour to Blackpool and the surrounding area, and look at how they've managed to do some community building in those areas. And we're going to try and pulled together a sort of summary of this, which I hope will be useful to you in the future. So let's get started. Now, I'm sure some of you already know that we are Urban Organic. We're a social enterprise based in Blackpool in northwest UK. And we are all about helping bees, plants, and people. And we do this through community gardening. We do it through therapeutic beekeeping sessions and all sorts of other things, all sorts of other projects in our local area. We are based at the Princess Alexandra Blind Home, which is on the coast in Blackpool. And there we have our community garden and our spiritual home. And it's a fantastic place to be based. I was just talking to them earlier on at the home about what we're going to be doing this year and doing some more work in the grounds, running some more sessions, rebuilding the polytunnel that was recently wrecked in the high winds, and adding a new summer house and all sorts of other things. So there's an air of positivity which is most welcome at this stage of the year. And we've waited a long time for it as well. So that's great. So that's where we're based. And we've been running for a number of years. What I want to do is now to look back at some of the projects that we've been involved with and just look at how we approached community building in those different projects. However, before I do that, I want to share with you this slightly blurry and rather technical slide, which shows the lifespan of a project. And this shows on the vertical axis, we've got the cost of staff, costs and staffing level. And on the horizontal axis, we've got time. And all projects follow this sort of curve. There's a sort of initial build-up of activity and engagement, and then it's at its peak for a while, and then it tails off towards the end. And the reason I've put this up is it's very, very similar, if not identical, to the sort of chart that you see for the lifespan of a business, because businesses, like projects, have a natural lifespan to them. No business idea or project idea will last forever on its own. It needs to be reinvented. It needs to be revisited or even restarted in order to keep going for any length of time. And the reason I put this in is to think about it in terms of any project and community building. How long is the project going to last for? And how long do you want to keep people engaged for? I mean, do you want them to be part of the project and then take over the project after the funding's finished or after your organization withdraws and moves on to something else? Or is it really a short-term thing? Is it really a series of short interventions which will then lead on to other things? It's just worth bearing this in mind before developing an approach for how to engage with the local community. Okay, so the first of our projects that we're looking at, urban organic projects, was this one that was with a local high school, quite close to the blind home, so in the south of Blackpool, and it was Highfield High School, and they had a number of kids who weren't really attending lessons as they should have been. They were bunking off, they were not really engaging properly. And it was actually the local, one of the local police officers who approached us about setting up this project. And it was on a piece of land at the back of some houses in a housing estate close to the school. Now, they brought along some children and they started, as you can see, this was the first day, they started to enthusiastically dig and find worms and things. But straight away, one of the neighbours poked her head over the fence and said, "What's going on? What do you think you're playing at?" And really was quite aggressive towards us. swearing quite a lot, and it took some time to calm her down. And her big objection was that we'd be creating a lot of noise on this piece of land that had been just neglected for a long period of time. So nothing happening there, and this was her biggest fear. So we managed to calm her down and say, look, it's going to be community garden. It's not going to be noisy. It's going to help all these kids from the high school. And gradually we got talking to her, and things got onto a better footing. So, that was quite unexpected. And the reason I've put this example in is because sometimes something unexpected happens right at the start, and it can really throw your plans for how it's going to go. Um, but it turned out this person, because we managed to spend some time with her, the next time we went down, she popped her head over the fence again, and said, "Is there anything you need? Can I make you some drinks?" And she was really, really helpful and really nice this time. And then the next thing, she sent her son round, and he got involved. So it all turned out really well. But as I say, sometimes unexpected things can really derail your fantastic plan for a project, and you need to think again. You need to reevaluate and see how you can best find a way out of the situation. And usually, it's all down to communication. It's down to talking with people, explaining what's going on, finding what their concerns are, and finding out if there is a way to work with them. Okay, this next example, again in the south of Blackpool, was a garden that we set up called the Secret Garden. Now, this was a piece of land that belonged to the council. Again, it wasn't being used, and it was full of rubbish. So our first job was to clear it out. And we set this up in order to work with a local care home that dealt with patients with dementia. And they used to bring down their residents once a week, and for this gardening club, for a bit of a trip out. As you can see to the right, there's a bit of a covered area that we created. So even if the weather turned a bit wet, we were still okay. We could spend some time outdoors, get some fresh air, do some art activities, or work with the plants and so on. But because of the client group we were working with, it was really, really important that this site was secure. Uh, so what was going to be a problem was if somebody they didn't recognise or know would suddenly turn up on site. Even if it was a perfectly friendly person, that could cause an adverse reaction with the client group. So the security was all important, and getting them to and from site in a stress-free way was all important as well. Now, once we got up and running with this garden, which was, as I say, really lovely, really successful, we also managed to engage with some kids from another local school, Palatine School. But these were, again, kids who were causing problems in the school or were bunking off. They didn't really have any plans to go to college or any jobs lined up or anything like that. They really were freewheeling. And so the garden was a great way to engage with some of those kids and get them doing something practical, get them working together. And we had some great sessions down there. But because of the sort of behaviour that they were used to, they get up to all sorts of things. So one time I went in, and they were all on the shed roof. We built a pizza oven there, and half of them made pizzas and really enjoyed them. The other half were saying, "Well, no, that's dirty because it's not been sterilised," and they really thought that fresh meant that the pizza had to be wrapped in cling film and had been sterilised somehow in a factory. And so we had this whole conversation about what fresh meant and local ingredients. And it was really interesting to challenge some of their preconceptions about this. So again, this was working with this client group was about being flexible. It was about meeting with unexpected things, but managing them in the best way possible to keep those people engaged. And I think all of them really benefited a lot from those sessions, and they had a bit of direction in their lives through it. Or maybe in years to come, they'll look back and remember those gardening sessions, and oh well, yeah, maybe I could grow something again. I'm sure it's been useful in all sorts of ways for them. Now, this is another project that we got involved with for a few years. It was to set up a pollinator garden at a train station at Lytham. So this is Lytham Station Pollinator Garden. We wanted to engage some of the local school children, but getting them on site regularly was a problem. It was difficult to get them to and from the schools with the time that they had, but also health and safety wise, we couldn't have them there every week. So they just made a couple of visits. But our way around this was to build bug boxes with them. And we did this in the schools. We got them to decorate the bug boxes and to pack them. And then we brought them down to the station and put them onto posts. And in this way, the school children could be involved. The bug boxes provided plenty of colour year round, even when the flowers had finished. They looked great on the train station platform. And also, the children could come down with their parents and stand on the opposite platform, on the public one, and show them which bug box was theirs, which one they decorated. So this is a really nice project, and like the last project, it's something that we finished, Urban Organic, but we passed on to other people, other volunteers who work there, and they've kept going with those projects. So they're still there today, and they're looking great. Now, one thing we were lacking at Lytham Station was somewhere to sit and have a cup of tea. So we came up with the idea of making this shelter on the platform, which you can see we made into sort of mini bird hide, so children could enjoy it. We built a pond in front of it. At the back of it was some water butts, so we could collect the rainwater off the roof and put it into water butts because we didn't have a water supply there for watering the plants. There was a bit of a compost heap there as well. But the main purpose of this shelter was when we had our volunteering sessions, that we had somewhere to sit and a little shelf to put a cup of tea onto and just take a break from it all. And so it's providing that nice, comfortable space for the volunteers, which really consolidated this project. Because before this, we were just stood in the open and it was much less cozy. So sometimes you've got to really think about what your volunteers need and what will make a big difference to their experience each time they come down. And another example is at Highfield Road Park, again in the south of Blackpool, where we had a really interesting project. A local arts organisation, Left Coast, who ran all sorts of events and workshops around the Blackpool area, they approached us and they said they wanted to do a project with the local people to collect local stories. And then they were going to work with a playwright to write those local stories into a play, which would be performed in the park. But what they wanted us to do was to create some green scenery, if you like, or eco scenery, so that the play could move around the park along with the audience, and people could watch it in different places, but also so that there'll be some sort of legacy there, that some of the scenery will be left there afterwards. And so we created, along with the volunteers from the park, from the friends group at the park, we created this sort of living willow gazebo, if you like. And we managed to get some living willow from another local school where we were cutting back a willow dome. And we brought it to the park. We put this structure together, weaved it together, used cable ties and posts and all sorts of things to get it to stand up. And we created this rather lovely structure. And when I went to see the play, it was really magical. It was incredible because the two performers that you can see inside the willow gazebo in the centre, they were acting out people's stories, local people's stories. And you could hear in the audience, oh, I remember that, or oh, that's my story they're doing now. And there was a lot of excitement in the audience. And there was about 60 people or so following this. And they moved from place to place around the park. And it was a really lovely event, and something that really pulled the community together. And what's really nice for us is that willow structure, which got vandalized quite a few times, but the volunteers kept repairing it, it's still there. It's still there, some 6-7 years on, which is quite incredible. We didn't expect that at all. So yeah, it's really lovely to leave something behind and have that bit of legacy. So I'm going to bring you up to present day now, and we're going to visit Wheaton Camp that we went to back in November during our study tour. And I'll just show you the first bit. There's no sound, so don't panic. It's just a bit of video just to show you a quick look around as to how it's going. Things are progressing. Some things are work in progress, obviously, because it's early on with the project. But then there's an interview with Rachel, who's the community worker there. So when you started here, Rachel, what did you have to do to start to bring the community together? What things did you do that made a difference?
Yeah, so it was a funny old time when I started because it was during COVID, so we had to do a lot of virtual. We tried to do virtual sessions, and we couldn't because we didn't have the relationship with the people. So when I started face to face, May 2021, it was just a gradual process of building them very basic relationships, and that takes a while. Luckily, my main client group is kids, so the kids were like really up for getting involved and doing sessions as well again.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a struggle, and once you get the kids on board, then that's when you get the adults on board too. So I did a little session called Make Your Own Mansions. We made little rooms out of cardboard boxes, and that's where I got my really two keen people who are now helping me develop the garden.
Yeah, interesting. So the kids are the key, literally.
Kids are the key, yeah, definitely. Once you get the kids, the parents will follow.
Yeah. And what about from here on? I mean, what are your plans for building that community even more?
Yeah, so it's just identifying need, I suppose, and we do that by community analysis. So we find out who's here, what type of people, what's the culture like, and just like basic things like what's missing in the area. So we know that transport is a big barrier, so they can't go off site. So do we do more trips? When the soldiers go away, the women find themselves as single mothers again. So it's good to draw them together in that time, so they can support each other and take the pressure off each other and share problems and things. That's always good.
Right, great stuff. And what about the garden? What role is that playing in all of this?
Oh, so hopefully now, like, more hands-on sessions are happening. I'm hoping that more people will discover it, because it is at the back of all the buildings and people don't really know about it yet. So I do need to get the word out more, and I'll do that in coffee mornings and things like that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to hand you over to Stu now to tell you all about the Old Electric and what's been going on community-wise there.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all happy and well and smiling and enjoying the presentation so far. I'm going to talk about how our woodworking sessions that we've run at the Old Electric can be an effective tool for social engagement, and put them into context by joining the dots between the Old Electric, the people that use it, and the wider community. So for anyone that's not familiar with the Old Electric, it's a community theatre and arts centre run by the Electric Sunshine Project, who are one of Urban Organic's partners in Blackpool. They're a really exciting, creative collective that offers a broad range of artistic activities, and it's where we have our little workshop space on the ground floor. Some of you may have seen this on the UK visit. So I'm going to focus on three elements: how we initially attract interest, how we engage with people, and how we maintain that interest in the woodworking project. So, of course, the sessions are advertised on the Old Electric and Urban Organic websites to inform and invite people of all ages from a variety of backgrounds. This is regardless of their abilities or previous experience. We don't discriminate. Information about the woodworking sessions is often communicated through other Old Electric workshops. So this works both ways. Somebody at a playwriting workshop may want to come and see us, or our woodworking participants might be interested in the life drawing class, for instance. So we're always happy to point people in whatever direction they're interested in. We sometimes receive recommendations from a group called Inspira, who are an organisation in Blackpool who provide young people with careers advice and guidance. And we also share a little bit of office space with them at the Old Electric. So we're building up a good relationship with them. Sometimes it's simply by word of mouth that people come to us as previous participants share their experiences with friends and family or other outside groups they're a part of. And we, Urban Organic, are soon to take part in a craft fair arranged through the Blind Home, where we have our gardening club. This will be a chance for us to showcase the kinds of things we make at the woodworking sessions, and hopefully to make new connections with a wider network of local people. Some items that we've made at the workshop have also gone out into various community spaces and schools. So these might be garden structures or planters and bug hotels and things like that. And of course, our workshop doors are always open to the public. So passers-by are welcome to come in and have a chat. And wherever there's a spark of interest, we aim to fan the flames, so to speak. So one way we engage with people is by assisting local artists to help realise their ideas. They can create artworks that then become part of public shows and events. And we also help with the construction of props and stage sets for different theatre productions at the Old Electric. These could be talking points with the power to inspire involvement in our sessions. A good example is Janine Walker, a talented and active member of a local group of artists whose works you may have seen if you came on the UK visit. Her works are dotted around the Old Electric building. She took part in a few sessions actually to develop various pieces, including Zoltar the Misfortune Teller, who you can see on your screens now. There's another nice picture of that. And she also constructed, this is how it began, and it was a tree structure that was used for the Snow Queen winter show. And this also doubles as a shadow puppet theatre. So it's multifunctional. There it is. Janine's creations also feature in community events such as the Handmade Parade, which is an annual celebration which features all kinds of bizarre costume and interactive sculpture. So that's the work of Janine Walker. Another participant of ours, a young man called Dan. There he is. For him, the sessions serve as an outlet for individual creative development, which then can hopefully feed back into his environment. He was originally encouraged by his mum to attend the sessions and to socialise and put his creativity to good use. Now, despite some learning difficulties, he's actually really skilled with tools and he's got a really good imagination. He just needed the opportunity to engage these skills. He created, that's a staff he's making there. There he is, whittling away. He created some carved figurines and some functional pieces like candle holders. There's his figurine work. Receiving a coat of varnish there. That's the finished product. So he was really quite shy at first, though now he's gained a lot more self-esteem and he's actually keen to display his works in public exhibitions in the local area. So it really gives me a genuine buzz to see people motivated and empowered by learning these new skills and gaining confidence to feel more able to contribute to the local community in different ways. This might be further participation in other neighbourhood schemes or even devising projects in their own locality. Our most recent participant is a lady called Helen. There she is, working the chop saw. She discovered us after seeing a show at the Old Electric. And she actually served in the army for 25 years. So she's now readjusting to civilian life. She saw the woodwork sessions as a chance to reconnect with a previous interest that began for her years ago before she joined the army. So here she is creating, you'll see at the end. She was really keen on using as many different power tools as possible. So I got the whole kit out for her. Can you tell what it is yet? There we go. Finished product. She made herself a little set of hooks. I think that might be going in her shed at home. So Helen has a really kind heart and she uses these new skills to help her neighbours in their homes and gardens. And she's currently building a new garden gate for an elderly resident in her area. So there's no set plan to the sessions as such. I try and shape each one around the individual's strengths and interests. I find getting to know each other and building up a relationship helps to maximize their learning and has other longer lasting benefits. And it's a lovely feeling when people want to come back for further sessions. It shows that we're doing something right. And we've recently seen an increase in newcomers. The declining COVID restrictions having a noticeable effect. So that's really encouraging. As for maintaining people's interest and ensuring the sessions continue to be beneficial, we've learned how important people's feedback is in helping us to maintain a positive direction, to monitor their and our own progress, and improve the way that we can deliver sessions. In the future, we're looking forward to connecting with the Dads for Life programme, the Men's Shed project, an organisation called Sam's Place, and the Blackpool Carer Centre. Now, these are all local organisations which provide support to, and activities for people like young fathers, older men living in isolation, differently abled young people, and even unpaid carers in the area. So I'm not quite sure how possible this might be, but I'd love to see more overlap between these separate groups. To me, it makes much more sense for these different services to recognise each other, to communicate and evolve together. So we're hoping for some opportunities to make that happen, as these different groups often have a lot in common. We also hope to reach out and welcome more diverse community groups to the sessions, to celebrate our similarities and learn from one another. I believe we've got to overcome these barriers that some sections of the community feel they must build around themselves. And yes, we try and encourage that sense of connection and to nurture our interrelationships. We also like to take the woodworking sessions out with us to other projects that we have running. So, for instance, we're currently engaged with some gardening at some residential housing in Blackpool, and there's a lady there called Denise, and I was chatting to her the other day, and she said that she had no friends. A dog had recently passed away, and she had no friends until she became involved in this community gardening group. And I quote, she says that's changing. This improved feeling of self-worth that she has is going to filter back into society for sure. And I've seen this kind of thing with my own eyes, and it really works. When people bond with their surroundings and each other, they get so much in return. And yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thanks, Stu. And some of the points that Stu raised there lead really nicely into my analogy of this lovely boat. Yeah, I wanted to put this in just to make the point that imagine the project is the boat that we're looking at, and you need somebody who's not necessarily in charge, but who's the go-to person, who's in a way is running the project. But it doesn't mean that they are at the top of the tree. They should be on a level with people, but everybody knows that that's the go-to person, and that's the captain or skipper, if you like. Now that skipper could say, okay, everyone on board, so everyone gets on the boat, and then tell them to shut up, sit down, don't touch anything, and we could all go for a sail and have quite a nice trip. But that's a bit sad, really, isn't it? Because it's made those people feel awkward. But also, the trip is only a fraction of what its potential is, what it could be for all those people on the boat. So Then another approach is for the skipper to give different people different tasks. And as you can see, we've got a number of people engaged in managing the different sails and balancing the boat and looking out for obstructions in other boats and all that sort of thing, which is fine. But again, it's lacking a bit in potential because those people have been forced into those roles. And it's the same if you get volunteers coming to a project. If you tell them all what to do, it's not quite achieving its full potential. For me, the full fat version is for everybody coming along to have a chat initially with that lead person, that skipper, and with each other, and for people to express or have the chance to express what they'd like to do, what they'd like to try. So, for instance, with the boat, there might be somebody who's very, very good at managing sails, but maybe they do that all day, every day. And in this volunteering moment, they don't want to do that. They want to do something different that they'll learn from, that they'll enjoy. So, in this way, you can then start to find out what people would like to do, what they get the most from, and you could also, through that conversation, find out what skills people have. You know, for instance, on this boat trip, there might be somebody who's really good at cooking, so they can rustle up some lunch and maybe show somebody else how to make it as well, so that they learn something new and they help the person preparing the food. I'm making all these examples to show that the more that you include people in the process and the more that you communicate with them, the more you'll discover about them and the more that they will get out of the experience. And then you end up with a phenomenal team who can, that just pulls together, that works beautifully together and is adaptable, and everybody feels empowered. That's the ideal. So that's a good way to look at a project, I think, is that you're trying to utilize people's skills and desires and interests to the best effect. But I would stress, there does need to be that person, that contact person or skipper or captain or whatever you want to call them. For it to function properly, you do need to have that person who's the go-to person. Okay, enough of my staring at boats. Moving on to our last example, I went to Lytham Hall the other day, which some of you will recognise, and talked to John Horniak about community building at the hall. So I'm here with John Horniak.
Hi Alan, good to see you again.
And you.
Yeah, brilliant.
And we're at Lytham Hall, as you can see.
Yeah.
So John, obviously there's a thriving community here. In fact, a lot of the project has been brought together to what it is today, what you see today, by volunteers, by community effort. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask if there are any key things, any tips you can give on what's worked here, or even any key points where the community really came together to help this project along.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think as with a lot of projects, the key to it all, especially if you're trying to get volunteers involved, is to make sure that you've actually got a key to the project that makes people actually get hold of it. And if you've got something where people are absolutely interested, to the almost to the point, I would say, of passion. And I've always said to students in the past, and I find myself talking to volunteers in exactly the same way, because it's the same philosophy. If you think about vision first, so with a project like the Lytham Hall project, it takes people of vision in the first place to say, we want to actually do something with what was a fantastic historic area, and we want to involve the community. So the wider the breadth of community, the better. Nothing better, of course, than involving volunteers. A lot of our volunteers, of course, are retired, and they're not necessarily have huge knowledge about horticulture or arboriculture or even history, but that's the draw, that's the beauty. So if you've got something where there is a history, there's a story to tell, and you can weave that into the tapestry so that the volunteers become part of it and look back and say, I did that.
Yeah, yeah. And as you say, they're learning as they go along, aren't they?
They really
that's
are.
always attractive, to learn new things, new skills. And what amazed me, you know, when I was working here, was all the different skills that people had, what they brought to the party. So they might join as a garden volunteer, but we found out along the way that they could organise a spreadsheet to organise the work for everybody else. Or there were all sorts of examples of that, weren't there?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the skill of managing a group of volunteers who are so diverse, and yet, as you correctly say, never underestimate. And quite a lot of them are shy, because even if they've come from top management, what they actually want to do is get away from that. They want to just get out there, fresh air, learn a bit, have some good social time, and that is absolutely vital. And in order to do that, you've got to have a broader team. So the people that are managing the projects, and this is the beauty of Lytham Hall, the people managing the projects are part of the whole family. And because of that, everyone has the same vision. As a result, if they have that passion, it actually brings the resources in. Not just the human resources, but the finance as well.
Yeah.
And then the local community, and then the publicity, and then the Antiques Roadshow, and then Wonder Hall. And so it goes, and the place happens.
Yeah, it's magical, isn't it?
It's phenomenal.
But as you say, what makes it tick isn't complicated, is it? You know, what gets it going?
It's people, it's understanding, it's particularly understanding something that you never expected. And you hit the nail on the head with a lot of the people that have skills that you don't necessarily know about, or even want to hide their skills sometimes. And it's nice to perhaps take a group of, shall we say managers from insurance companies, a bank manager, and maybe a professor or doctor from a hospital, and you end up planting something as simple as you and I think, as a hornbeam hedge like the one near here. But get it done right, although they think anyone can stick a bit of a twig in, hornbeam's nothing, I don't even know what it means. By the end of the day, they're telling you, oh no, that's not precise enough, oh no. And as you say, they're learning. And not only they're learning, they're desperate for it to come into leaf, because it's their baby. And the whole thing, Lytham Hall is exactly that. You think it's going to be something that you're going to get into, actually it gets into you.
Yeah.
And that's basically, I think, the success that we're all, if you like, honoured to be part of.
Well, thanks very much, John. That's been
You're very welcome,
very
Alan.
interesting as always, and great to see you.
Fantastic. Brilliant to see you too.
Some great points there from John Horniak at Lytham Hall. Excuse me. So, lastly, I just want to summarise. What ingredients do we need to build a community? And as we were just saying there, it's not complicated. The main ingredients really are an opportunity for social interaction. That's absolutely vital. Something to be interested in, and maybe some sort of learning opportunity. Food and refreshments are also absolutely vital. This is the point at which people often get chatting and creating and imagining, and also all sorts of amazing things come out of those moments where we're having a drink and a bite to eat together. And lastly, as John Horniak rightly said, enthusiasm and even passion. Okay, that's it from us. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and thank you all for listening.
Thanks, everyone.